G'day, mate. Welcome to Friday Facts 327. I have a melting Jedi with a melting mojo. How you doing, mate?
I'm melting.
You are melting. It's like, okay, so it's 37 degrees here, which is like 98 degrees Fahrenheit, and your website's telling you it's 17 degrees there, but you're pretty sure it's lying to you.
It's about 20, but it's really humid right now.
Yeah, it's like 80% humidity here as well. Yeah, I'm melting. I'm melting. It's great. It's fine. We're going to do a Friday Facts. It might be short. It might be sweet. So, on to particle optimizations. So, Alazan has been at it again. He's done more optimizations working or improving on our settings work from last Friday Facts? 3 Friday Facts ago. A couple of Friday Facts ago.
So a couple means two.
A recent Friday Facts, probably Friday Facts 322, because that's the one they've linked to, but he's worked on the particle system again. So, a quick summary of what of the possible actions a particle can do or make during its update. It can move its own position, it can advance their animation onto another frame, it can land in water and apply a trigger. It can apply another trigger with a certain frequency, and they can remove themselves from the game world once their lifetime ends. So, particles are those really cool things that make things go boom, or they are the after effects after the boom. Is probably more accurate. Yes, no.
More or less. Particles are also the end thing this year. All of the game developers just been. I don't know what's happened. I think there might have been some API changes or driver changes with NVIDIA or something, and everyone's been all over
possibly, or these things also come around if like somebody at the start of the year does a really good conference about it and really explains things in detail, and then all the other devs who attended that conference learn something, and then throughout the year more people do more talks on the same thing, and then it's in everybody's ear, and then everybody does something about it.
It's probably most likely, because that was true of the color grading that's been going around for years as well. They're now starting to move away from.
Yeah. So, the other thing. So the other thing is they move particles are now handled by triggers. And the problem with a trigger is they can do all sorts of really cool things, like create things and destroy things, and they're also the things that updated when R-Setting did his other optimizations a couple of Friday Facts ago. Also improved how inserters work and gave a small UPS there and all that sort of stuff. But they can do all sorts of things, including making sounds and even applying more triggers. So triggers are really universal. They can do a lot of things. The catch is optimizing a trigger is really hard because it's a catch-all system. So yeah, Alazan went and moved the particles over to a particle emitter. So a particle emitter basically letting him optimize them more by taking them out of a trigger so they can't do some things that they never had any need to do, and move them over to their own small subsystem. And then they could go back to the trigger system and handle them in bulk. So they could have them explode in lots of different directions, all handled by one single particle emitter bulk set of code rather than handling them individually. Am I good so far? I'm making sense? It's hot here.
More or less.
Cool.
My ability to verify if it's making sense may or may not be compromised.
Okay, good. We're both on the same page. So, what else? The other thing is simple particles are not able to change the game state, and thus would only update it to maintain their own internal values, mainly their position and velocity. A small physics exercise later, and the idea was born not to update particles at all. You can compute their current position from their starting one after all. So that's basic of physics. If you know where A is, being where they started from, you know where they are currently, and you know sort of the direction they're heading, you can then work out exactly where they are at any point along their trajectory. So yeah. If particles aren't rendered, there's no point creating them in the first place. So there's no reason to do that until the emitter comes into the draw distance, millions of biters dying in gigantic blood fountains off screen would thus basically not matter to your frame and update time. So that's the big change. That's probably the most important part about this Friday Facts, and this pretty picture hopefully explains this. We have all these...
I think it does a pretty good job.
Yeah, we have all these assemblers blowing up, and you can see the ones in the middle inside the red box, that is the point the screen is looking at.
That would be the player screen.
Yeah, have the pretty particle explosion effects with chunks of metal coming off everywhere. But the ones on the far right and the ones on the far left have, well, they still have the fire. I don't know why they have the fire and the smoke. I guess they should.
It's probably part of the game state.
Okay.
Or it may be what's actually doing the detonating. It may be the C4 that they put into the assembly machine or something.
Possibly. C4 is definitely the way to go. But more important thing is they're not throwing out big chunks of rubble, which means your game doesn't have to calculate it, which means you're saving UPS. More importantly, it means if somebody's out in the wilderness firing off nukes, chances are you won't feel it anymore because you're not seeing it anymore.
Or at least not as much.
Hopefully not at all. Hopefully not at all. Between this and the last couple of updates, hopefully not at all. But we'll see. We'll see. So the particles themselves are not allowed to affect the game state has another benefit. In a multiplayer game, each player only has to generate the particles they see themselves, instead of those that are not that are visible by anyone. So this is the first time Factorio is always in a lockstep. So whatever I do on my game, well, on my screen, Mojo's PC in a multiplayer game has to also calculate that where I've put a belt, what I've done, and what I've touched.
Yeah. Everyone's PC has to process everyone's actions.
Yeah, but this is the first time they're stepping outside that realm. And it means if I blow up something, I see the explosions, I also get to destroy the entities, and Mojo's PC will have to confirm that the items have been destroyed, but he doesn't have to calculate or show or display the explosions.
Yeah, all the particle emittings, it's happening entirely client-side, because that's actually the thing I was trying to come to terms with. If what you see in the red square is what the player sees, how does that affect the multiplayer game? And that's your answer.
That is the answer, and it means that if I'm looking at the exact same screen, I'm zoomed all the way out, I'd see all the particle effects of every single assembler, but if Mojo's just looking at that red box, he only sees that part of it.
Yeah.
Which does bring on to a borderline point that technically if you're not seeing any of the assemblers, yet the particle effects would land on your screen, you're not going to see those particle effects at all because your screen didn't happen to intersect with any of the assemblers.
Yeah, with any of the actual emitters on the assembler. That was actually something I was trying to look for as well, is that if they still have the emitters off screen, but doesn't render them and then they appear, but no. The assembly machines are off screen, so they just don't show at all.
Yep, you just miss out entirely. Which is fine, because it's a real edge case. You won't notice it, most likely. Bad luck, pretty much. But yeah, it means that for the first time ever, Factorio is stepping outside that lockstep multiplayer that they've had forever, and that also includes the way they handle their save file. I'm trying to think of the exact name for it, and I can't because it's hot. My brain's not working.
Determinism?
No, deterministic save. That's it.
Something like that.
Yeah. So, it also, where were we? Which yield, this is the other thing. It also yields more benefits due to the draw function not being called during the render prepare phase. So when they're preparing for what is going to happen in the next frame of the video or the game, it's called then. So it's not called during the data and the processing. It's just called just for the video card. Which means, again, it's something that they've sort of shifted from the CPU to the GPU, which 9 times out of 10, it's Factorio. Like, everybody's GPU can run rings around the game, providing you have any sort of dedicated video card.
Or a video card that isn't, 20 years old in at least one case that I've recently seen.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. Okay, 20 years old would probably be too far. Look, if you're running on something that goes into a PCI Express slot, you're probably fine.
Except for that aforementioned example, because it was a Generation 1 PCI Express graphics card.
20 years old? No, we didn't have PCI Express back then.
No, it was like 2005 that came out. 2004, 2005.
Yeah, so no, I didn't like
Getting
anything
close.
anything in the last 10 years, you'd be fine. Whatever. Basically, it means hands off the GPU. GPU is running rings around Factorio because it's not a graphic heavy game. It's definitely a CPU and a memory heavy game. So our catches.
Memory latency.
Yes. Sorry, I apologize. Memory latency. Anyway, so there is one catch. It doesn't just magically happen because they always have edge cases. For example, what happens if Emitter is created off screen and then comes into view distance? What happens if you save and reload? What happens if you save and reload with a mod set that doesn't have the particles defined anymore? It would be very odd to see a rocket silo explode into uncountable bits, see how they fly and crash into the ground, and then save and load and see everything again because the particle effect restarted. So they do have to handle edge cases, as with every single thing they do inside the game. Every dev has to do it to a certain extent. But yeah, it didn't take him too long to cover sort of the edge cases and allowed him to focus on expanding its features. Currently, the following features are supported and present on the emitter. It can handle simple particles with individual random starting positions and velocities. That's something that I'm really hoping that we see, because like all the assemblers blowing up have pretty much the exact same particles. I'm really hoping we get a... Oh no, there is some randomness to us.
There is some randomness, no.
I'd like to see more. I'd like to open up the amount of random and have something truly like unique. No two are ever going to be the same.
We'll see what comes of it there. Maybe we'll get our exploding gears one day.
Oh, I love exploding gears out of my assemblers. They take so many gears. Having simple particle effects via normal and instant tails, as shown in the previous Friday Facts. Having simple particles with smoke trail behind them. The last Friday Facts has some really not good examples of this, but the effect has already existed beforehand. Think of firing a nuke that has a smoke trail behind it. Having simple particles impact the ground and potentially be replaced with a water splash effect, which we're going to get to. They have two main restrictions. They can only handle a single particle type, technically associated smoke and water splashes. So if your assembler explodes next to the water, bits land in the water, you'll get a splash effect. Awesome. You already get that with grenades. By the way, like today I found out one of those sort of, community posts. If you walk over to the lake and throw a grenade in it, you get splash out of the water. A lot of people don't realize this. If you don't realize this and haven't seen it so far, go get a grenade, walk out to a lake in Factorio and throw the grenade in. And then once you've done that, go get yourself a cluster grenade and repeat the process. It's worth doing.
More fun with a cluster grenade.
Definitely more fun with a cluster grenade. But it's been there for...
Ever?
I don't know. Ever's probably pushing it too far, but...
Probably not ever, but as long as I can remember.
At least since 14? At least? It pops up in Reddit every 2 to 3 months. Right? Somebody's like...
That's Reddit, though.
I know.
Hey, everybody, I just realized this thing. Did you know you could do this? Yes, dickhead, we know.
Yeah. Did you know that all your screenshots are better after you press the Alt button? No, but you do now. Congratulations. So, dead set. Get a grenade. Walk out to a lake, a pond, a river, whatever you can find in Factorio. Throw it in. Repeat the process with a cluster grenade. Worth the 5 minutes. Anyway, so we can have bits of metallic burst in and create water splashes. This is the one that gets me. Making an assembly machine burst into a metallic blobs and oil splashes would thus require 2 emitters. Oil splashes has got me because the only time I can think of oil splashes is the oil on the ground where you put a pump jack and they don't splash. Not necessarily.
This means... Oh no.
Blowing up a refinery?
Metallic chunks.
Blowing up a refinery?
Maybe blowing up an oil refinery.
Because as far as I know, those puddles of oil on the ground don't have any...
It's not necessarily talking about the oil puddles. It's just saying make assembly machines burst into metallic blobs and oil splashes. So as in, it's emitting oil splashes as well. as chunks of metal.
Maybe, but like assemblers that require oil products are lube, which is electric engines and
Oh,
the different belts.
you're thinking about setting it to a recipe. As this sounds like it's just an assembly machine ejects oil when
Okay. Yeah.
is what I think. It's what I think he's
Maybe.
saying.
Okay. So yeah. So clarification. We'll find out when it finally hits the game in version 18, which is now going to break so many more mods than it was previously. So yeah, the particles managed by the emitter cannot fly too far from the emitter, which itself will never remove, because we need to know how far outside the draw distance to search for emitters that we may want to render the particles. So it says the emitter can't move, which I still assume means a car or a train or any item that does move can still have these effects, because when it blows up, it stops moving.
Well, when you create an emitter, it can't start moving in an X and Y. It can only spawn particles at that point. So you'd have to create a new. So if you're in a car that's moving and you happen to have like smoke, or you happen to have smoke coming out of exhaust as a particle, you would have to create a new emitter every tick.
Oh, that sounds bad.
Potentially.
Okay, so we have the biter exploding, which...
It's exploding a lot.
It's exploding a lot, and I've got to make two comments. One, the water splash, it's too much.
Oh yeah, it is. It should add the proviso. It is a demo showing off all of the features at once.
Yeah. So it does say that at the bottom, but that was the first thing that just caught me outright.
Oh yeah, it's I'm sure it's caught most people as well.
It has.
Emits a lot of particles.
I my Discord blew up at whatever time the Friday Facts came out, like 3 a.m. our time, I think it was, and there was just many comments about the water splash effect. It's just a little bit much. But I didn't realize until I watched this loop for like the 5th or 6th time about the shadow on the ground, and caused by the particle explosion of goop, biter goop everywhere. And it's starting to put me off. I don't know if it's just because I happen to have seen the exact same animation loop so many times now.
Possibly,
entirely possible. But it's just, I don't know. It looks weird. And the purple.
You should really look at the previous ones, because they're a bit more representative of it.
As in the previous biter explosions, or
from previous FFFs. If you're so inclined.
Yep. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. The purple's landing where the shadows are, and you can't really distinguish the purple from the shadows until the two collide. It's just weird. Anyway, on to the next one, which is another R seeding post. So he's done more optimizations, as if 18 was ever finished being optimized. Well,
technically, that wasn't an R seeding optimization. That was an Alizan optimization.
That was an R seeding optimization that was re-optimized by Alizan.
Okay.
So, because he was the first one that played with particles.
That's true.
So
yes.
Sitting obviously got finished with the first task, got kicked off that. He's gone on to data caching. We could have 2 optimizers at Factorio. We could be running Factorio on a calculator by the end of 2020. It won't be the end of this year, but 2020 is entirely reasonable.
Where's my install for Raspberry Pi?
So we have startup time at data cache. Now, there are 2 main parts of the Factorio startup process. Oh, yeah, let's go with this first. So, when you try and boot Factorio, well, actually, Arseting a long time ago changed, or did what he could to optimize Factorio, just getting it to boot. And I think he cut the time down by like 80%, I want to say.
Something like that. Like, previously, he had the game starting up in 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah, he really...
Possibly less.
He really went all out and tried to work out every second he could save in just getting the game to boot. And
mainly because he doesn't like sitting at that loading screen.
No,
so it's not surprising that we're talking about this.
I don't blame him. And it comes down to, like, each time they do a compile to change some type of code, they got to compile it. Okay, that's fine. Understand that takes time. But then they have to boot the game. And that takes time, and whether it's 30 seconds or 38 seconds makes a big difference when you're doing it 200 times in the day. Those few seconds add up over and over and over. So yeah, there's two parts to the Factorio startup process. It goes over each enabled mod and collects the prototype data it generates, the data stage. This is mod settings that you need to change, and then it says you need to reboot Factorio before these get applied. They're the data stage of those mods. And then the second thing it does is it loads and processes the sprites the game needs to run. So that's all the graphics. That's the graphics loaded by the mods, along with graphics loaded from Factorio. And this...
Base mod.
Huh?
Base mod.
Base mod, yes. Okay. Base mod. This little clip here of going from 3% to 9% is 27 seconds long. And of course, this has been recorded on, I assume, RCDing's machine, which is... He did, I think it was Friday Facts 206, he actually posted exactly what his specs were. And they were a little bit insane. I think it was a $2,000 CPU, just the CPU
Yeah,
itself.
it was.
Yeah, it was...
He threw money at it to make that loading bar as quick as possible.
Yeah. Look, if it's work, it's a work expense, it's probably worth every penny. I'd love to spend $2,000 on a CPU, but, you know, I've got to be realistic. Yeah. So in the past, I made an experimental setting which would cache the loading and processing of sprites. So we never need to wait for them when nothing around them has changed. Now, this is a setting Mojo has used in the past, and it's still, as far as I know, an experimental setting that you have to go into the ini file and change, correct?
Pretty sure you still need to actually edit that manually.
Yeah.
I did that back in like version 15.
Yeah, I think it's
been there forever.
It's been there for a long time. Mojo actually told me about it, and it's the next step of the loading bar, so like that 10% to whatever percent, where it physically goes through and loads all the sprites into the loads all the sprites and stores them in a way that they can go to the GPU. It just writes them to a cache once. And as long as you don't change the mods, it boots up. It just skips that step, basically. They're already...
Yeah, it just pulls them out of that file instead.
Yeah, and shoves them straight in the GPU. Well, memory and then GPU. It's so much faster. I think if Factorio takes 30 seconds for me to load, with turning that setting on, it brings it down to like 10 seconds. It's a massive difference. As long as you don't change the mods. This is why I have multiple installs of Factorio, so when I change the mods, I just boot a whole different version of Factorio.
Can actually speed it up further by not using Windows Defender.
Oh, because it's checking every file as you open it.
Yeah, first time you run it, it touches every file. A lot of... there's a few other virus scans which are even slower, but you want to read.
Yeah,
as it turns out.
It's one of those things you could probably safely say that Factorio has no viruses in it. Probably.
In general, you don't want to run without... Having said that, you don't want to run without anything at all. Definitely don't want to run with anything free.
Look, it's catch-22. I've worked in IT for years. I ran without a virus scanner for... When did Windows Defender get forced upon us? Windows 10. That's when I...
Windows 8. Yeah,
no, well...
Yeah, Windows 8.
Yeah, we didn't have a Windows 9. Yeah, so I didn't do 8. So 10. 10 is when I started running the antivirus that comes with Windows. Purely because I can't be bothered to turn it off because it's not easy anymore. Not to turn it off properly. So, all besides the point. If you turn off your virus scanner, you can boot Factorio faster. And if you change this setting, you'll boot it even faster and you can leave your virus scanning on. Anyway.
It only affects it the first time, interestingly. It doesn't recheck it every time.
That's the sign of a quality antivirus right there. So yeah,
it is actually, because it doesn't keep rescanning the same file over and over.
But if they've been changed, they should be scanned.
But the graphics files don't change.
Okay, whatever.
Anyway, moving swiftly along.
Yep.
I think I may have short-circuited your brain there.
Yep, probably.
I may have exceeded your brain capacity.
Oh my god, it's that hot, definitely. So yeah, what he's done is he's implemented a caching system for the data stage. So providing nothing has changed, i.e. the mods, Factorio itself, he could cache that part as well. So it wasn't actually faster with just the base game, which he was a little bit disappointed on. But rather than just giving up, he actually spent a bit more time with the profiler and managed to find a few areas he could actually optimize and reduce the caching logic was spending by about half, which doesn't make sense as a sentence, but sure. So finally had some benefits for the base game, although quite small. What he was surprised about is when he loaded up a modded game. So it took 25 seconds, and then with the setting enabled, took 4 seconds. Which is a massive difference for anybody who plays modded Factorio, which is, I would
Not
guess...
just modded, it's super duper modded.
Well, the more mods you add, the greater the saving is. But I guess like 80%, my rough guesstimate, 80% of players play some sort of modded Factorio.
Oh yeah, they'll have somewhere between 10 and 20 minimum.
Look,
the average player
yeah,
doing modded.
Look, whether it be 1 or 2, or whether it be, you know, I've installed the Bob's special pack with C block and everything else, and I have a mod list so big that I can't even fit it on my save/load game page. Doesn't matter. The more
I should
mods you
actually
have,
have to qualify, like the sort of game I was thinking of was a Bob's Angels one, and when I say 20, I mean it's 20 where 2 of them are just Bob's and Angels, not the individual components.
Oh, okay. We're not counting all the subgroups of Bobs and Angels. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's like 80 mods off the bat. Anyway, so
Yes.
big saving there. Again, it is an experimental setting, so you're going to have to wait for 18 to come out. There is a Factorio, so it's in your Factorio folder config.ini, is that right?
Something like that.
It's really easy to find. That much I remember. And it's literally called something cache for the graphics, and you change a 0 to a 1, save the file, done. And I'm assuming this setting is going to be very much the same. And I'm also assuming when it's released, somebody will put up how to do it on the forums or on Reddit within an hour, probably, if that.
Then a week's time, someone will post on Reddit, TIL, did you know you can do this to the con?
Yeah. There's always one person that's late to the party. And it will get so many upvotes. Anyway, on to Christmas mods. So Clonan went and had a look at some of the Christmas mods. Because this is the last Friday Facts before Christmas. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody out there. So yeah, he want to go through and celebrate some of the mods in the holiday spirit of the game. So he has Alien Biomes, which has been around for ever. Yeah, ever. And it has a cold climates option, which basically gives you snow. It doesn't... With
an incredibly high movement penalty, mind you.
Oh yeah, their snow gives you like a 50% movement penalty. I forgot about that.
I thought it was like 60%.
No, I think it was 50 last time I played with it.
May have changed.
It's painful. It's really painful to walk around the snow. I really don't recommend it. Pave it if you have to. If you have to have snow and you have to install Alien Biomes, pave it. The next one he mentions is Holiday Artillery. Now, Holiday Artillery, I've actually installed on my community map. I'm actually running just about every Christmas mod you can think of. And it reskins... So, it's Jeff S. wrote the mod. It's one of Hippolytus's viewers over on Twitch. He's, again, a Factorio streamer. I'm sure, Mojo, you've seen Hippolytus at least once or twice.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
He gets around.
Yep. So, the two were making a joke in stream about changing the artillery to deliver Christmas gifts, and 24 hours the mod came into 24 hours later the mod came into existence, and it's actually a really, really cute little mod. All it does is reskin both the artillery wagons plus the artillery stationary artillery as well. Reskins the artillery shells into little Christmas presents, and when they fire, yes, you literally get little presents getting launched across the screen. On top of that, the delivery remote is a Santa hat, and when you stamp it on the ground, rather than getting a pretty red X for this is the target, it looks like a Santa like present, little GIF. It's cute. It's cute. It's effective, and it changes every artillery thing to a gift delivery system. Yeah, it's a cute mod. It's very seasonal, but very, very cute. And then the last one we have, which I can't play the video for because unfortunately it's got background music and I know I'll get hit by Content ID and copyrighted music.
Demonetized.
Yeah, it's not only that, they put in ads where they want rather than me just putting a ad at the start of, well, having the option for an ad to go at the start. If it happens the other way, you're going to get 5 ads in a 20-minute video. I hate it, you hate it, so I'm not going to click play. The video is worth watching, and the mod is worth installing. It's Binus Art, is that right?
Close enough.
Close enough. You're going to let me bastardize it rather than you do it.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just gonna abstain. That way, you're the one that bastardize it, not me.
Okay, cool. So it adds a Christmas tree, and more importantly, it adds Olafs, and they are little snowmen that pop out of the Christmas tree. They look like Olaf. They wander around the map. If they get close to a biter, they will throw snowballs at the biter and kill the biter slowly. And if the snowmen die, they turn into Christmas ornaments. So they are the 3 mods that Clonin happened to highlight. They're good mods. Don't get me wrong. They're good mods. They're not the ones I would have chosen, but they're 3 seasonal mods that has been highlighted in this Friday Facts.
Yeah, and there's plenty more to choose from. Also, the BSR there's another one which is BSR Lab.
The Disco Labs, yeah?
Yeah, it's got the spinning shiny orbs inside it.
Oh, yes, that's one I looked at. I think I did a video on it a couple of weeks ago. It's cute. It's
pretty nice.
He's also got one that does lightsabers.
There you go.
I can't remember what it's called, but basically they're meant to be LED lamps, like stick lamps that go in the ground. They basically look like somebody's taken a lightsaber and jammed it in the ground. It's sticking up in the air, and you can have multiple different colors, or you can have an RGB version that changes color. Very, very awesome. Very, very cute mod. Again, we're running that one on my community map, along with both his Christmas tree and the Santa holiday artillery gift system. We're also running ice ore, which lets you mine ice and melt ice and turn it into snow. Well, turn it into water, which you can then turn into snow with See This Snowball, which again is a really, really cool mod. If you throw a snowball at your friends, they teleport. Possibly away from you. Well, it's possibly away from you, possibly towards you, possibly into a biter nest. Also, same applies when you throw a snowball at yourself, because they're grenades. So the simple thing is, if you can throw a grenade at yourself, you should be able to throw a snowball at yourself. And you'd also throw them at biters, which is very interesting inside combat. There's also the Christmas Feels mod, which was actually released last year, and it's literally a graphical mod, I guess. Changes out small power poles for candy canes, medium power poles for Christmas trees. Changes out the ores to be different types of candy. Changes all the science packs into presents. And changes over the train wagons to sleighs. So that's another Christmassy one. And then the last one, probably the most important one, is Biter Santa. Biter Santa was featured last year in my Christmas community map and has actually had a couple of updates this year. And yeah, look, if you ever want somebody to deliver presents, Biter Santa is the way to go. He comes in with a command. He has VTOL takeoff and not landing, and he can deliver you whatever presents you want, wherever you want on the map, with a couple of console commands. He's, again, a cute little Christmas mod. And actually, I should have a video on all of these coming out tomorrow, because we did the Friday Facts too late, so I didn't get the video out today. Anything else you want to add, Mojo?
Nope, that's everything.
He's a little bit of a Grinch. He's not big on this whole Christmas thing. So yeah, that's it. We're done. And there was silence. Okay.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, that's it from us and Friday Facts 326. We'll see you. Well, we won't see you for Christmas, because that's a couple of days away.
Yeah, Christmas is in between now and next time, so Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, one last Friday Facts, and yeah, Christmas between now and then. So enjoy your holiday, enjoy your day off. I really hope you don't have to work on Christmas Day, or the day before, or the day after. Let's cover all 3 days there. And we'll see you one more time between now and the end of 2019.
Yeah, it's almost over.
It's almost over, yeah. That starts for 2020, which is a whole nother conversation for the next Friday Facts. Anyway, that's it. We're out. Bye.